Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Saha Viryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May Brahman protect us both. May Brahman bestow upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill feeling toward each other. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. In our last class, we discussed a very important point. In fact, in our last class, one of the topics of our discussion is 5 types of relationships, and from the spiritual point of view, what are they called? Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Mathura. Sri Ramakrishna had experienced all these 5 types of relationships with the people who were in the village. Just one point I wanted to add to that. With regard to his parents, he was like a child. But with regard to Akshay, what was his relationship? He became the parent. This he carried on throughout his life towards his disciples, towards elderly people. Now what is most important here, I said how many types of relationships? But we have to say there are another 6 types of relationships, possible relationships. Often we do not mention them. What are they? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are called greatest enemies of spiritual life, man or woman. Lust, anger, greed, infatuation, jealousy and pride or egotism. How many? 6. One important point we added there was, let a person have any type of relationship. So 5 of these and 6 of these. Total how many? 11. Here also another point I want to add is, we said 5 positive type of relationships. What are they? Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya. If they are used with the idea that this is another worldly object. My mother and father is a worldly person. My friends are worldly person. My boss is a worldly person. If this is a worldly type of relationship. Now, mind you what I am trying to tell you. It's not that my parents are worldly people. I consider them as worldly people. That means what? Everything depends upon me. Here also, what is so marvelous to note, supposing we come across Holy Mother and you live with Holy Mother, what should be or what would be your natural relationship with Holy Mother? No, spiritual relationship. You don't consider her as an ordinary mother. Why? Because she is leading that kind of life. Anybody could recognize that she is a divine person and not an ordinary person, because no ordinary human being can love like Holy Mother or Sri Ramakrishna or Swamiji. Now the point I wanted to bring out is, it is not what the other person is, it is how we forge the relationship. Here is a worst person, a wicked person, but if I consider that person as a manifestation of God, then will I become spiritual or not? I can put you another question. Supposing someone considers Sri Ramakrishna as a wicked person, will he progress in spiritual life or not? It depends upon how whether we are worldly or whether we are spiritual depends upon not on the object but on our attitude. That's why a piece of stone. A piece of stone is nothing but a piece of stone. But if we consider it as Shivalinga or Saligrama, in fact, what is all photographs, what is an image of God, etc., is nothing but ordinary worldly object. But depending upon our attitude, that very same thing could be highly spiritually helpful to all of us. Even if you are having a parental relationship with somebody, either you are a child or the other person is a child, that's not important. What is important? Whether I am forging a spiritual relationship, I am relating to that object. I call that object not person, anything, object, from a spiritual point of view or from a worldly point of view. That's what makes us either worldly or spiritual. Everything depends upon us. Nothing depends upon anybody else. That's a very important point you have to understand. In the same way, those 5 attitudes, add 6 more attitudes. What are they? Kama, Krodha, anger, lust, greediness, and infatuation or delusion, and pride or jealousy. All these 6, even though we are advised that these are negative emotions which will lead us, strictly speaking, it is not true. Now we have to revise our definition of whether they are, which emotion is spiritual, which emotion is not spiritual. How do we do that? Very simple. Whichever emotion makes us go towards God, that is a spiritual emotion. And whichever emotion takes us away from God, that is what we call worldly relation. Very, very important, because none of us need to go anywhere else. As we are right now, with the same circumstances, with the same people, if we change our attitude, we become completely spiritual. But there is one key to all this. That is where, in my last class, I have brought out one important subject. What's our relationship with God? What's our relationship God with Guru and with ourselves? This is a very important subject. So we all say we believe in God, and some of us, most of us, have Guru. In fact, all of us have Gurus. If you don't have spiritual Guru, you have a computer Guru, business Guru, bridge Guru. Anybody to whom you look for inspiration is called. Suppose you look at some other girl and nice fashion, you like her dress, and say, what does she become to you? Fashion Guru. Unconsciously we are doing. What is the point here? What type of relationship we have with God? We have to determine. Is it worldly relationship or is it a spiritual relationship? How do we determine? How do you determine whether your relationship with God is spiritual or worldly? Naturally, we assume that because we are worshipping God, it must be spiritual relationship only. Supposing somebody is worshipping God for money, for name and fame, and for worldly enjoyment, what is his relationship with God? Worldly relationship. Because that's what makes him, that person, even more worldly. Even more worldly. That is true. Even if we have a very ordinary relationship with a very ordinary person, even an animal, but in a spiritual way, that can make us very spiritual. That is why Hindus worship what? A cow. Hindus worship a cow, Hindus worship a monkey, snake, and even a mouse. Find out what is our relationship with our Guru. Is it spiritual or is it worldly? What is our relationship with our Guru? Very important. So I take initiation and I pay a little bit of respect. In fact, our relationship with not only Guru, but our elderly. Guru means elderly person. You bow down. Mantra Diksha Guru, but you come and bow to any monk, isn't it? But what is your relationship? Find out. But most important, everything hinges upon one important relationship. What is that? Our relationship with our own self. It is surprising. You say, what do you mean by our relationship with ourselves? How do you look upon yourself? Do you look upon yourself as a worthless human? First of all, do you look upon yourself in a positive way or in a negative way? Do you look upon yourself as an enthusiastic person or as a person, okay, I have to live my life, let this day go on. Most of us, what do? Somehow let this day pass on. How many of us are looking forward? Oh, I am so much looking forward for tomorrow. How do we know? How do you know? Because when you go to bed, if you are looking forward to your next day, will you be able to sleep early morning, even at 3 o'clock? You say, oh, this damned watch is running so slow. How do we know? Christmas Eve night, the children go to bed. Will they be able to sleep? How many times they go? There are persons who love the flowers or gardening or see Ramakrishna, how he used to, he could not sleep. Why was he not able to sleep? He used to say, if you have to believe, for 12 years he said, I did not have a wink of sleep. Do you believe? 12 years. And then the eyelids have stopped functioning. Have you read about it? He said, I have to forcibly close and say, everybody is able to close it. And why am I not able to close it? Because incessantly tears were running in streams. Mother, I want to see you. I want to realize in different ways. You cannot imagine even that a man for 12 years could not have a wink of sleep. You cannot imagine. And then even after his sadhana was over, what time he was getting up? Not only he was getting up, he can't understand why the other persons are not getting up. He used to, what he used to do? Throw water on Holy Mother's bed and all those people. And Holy Mother also made a remark that this man is unable to sleep. And then he disturbs everybody else. Like that you sleep, like that Holy Mother used to say. Important point is, why was he not able to sleep? Because he was getting so much of joy from life. He cannot afford, why should I sleep? I lose so much of joy. This is what happens to us, when we expect somebody whom we love very much. That night, our sleep will be very much disturbed, isn't it? We cannot wait for the night to end, or we are expecting a great promotion to come. We are all like that. Examine our own relationship and you will see a lot of problems just by examination will disappear. And what did I say? This is the key to every type of relationship. If I don't have positive relationship with myself, I will not have any positive relationship with anybody else. Though we say God, yes, I have very positive relationship with God, but I don't have positive relationship with the world. That is a dichotomy, split personality, and that is not going to happen. Why? Because as if we have put on some colored glass over our eyes, and whether you look at the world or whether you look at yourself or whether you look at God, how do they appear? In the same color. That is why there is a beautiful Hindi song, Jini Jini Chadariya, like that, there is a Kabir song is there. Oh sadhu, color yourself in the color of Sham Rang se. Beautiful song, Anup Jalot's famous song, Jini Jini Chadariya. Very beautiful song. Let us color ourselves with spirituality. Then everything becomes spiritual. It is not easy. So the point is, one morning, fine morning, you are getting up and then you see everything spiritual. That's not going to happen. What is the way? Slowly, day by day, hour by hour, we have to make it spiritual. So if some good event happens, in which light do you have to take? In a spiritual light. And if it is not a pleasant experience, event, then also we have to accept it as spiritual. That is how a person becomes a saint slowly. So that's an important point. Another point I said, that slowly we have to sublimate our life. What is sublimation? A lower thought connected with God or spirituality, that very thought becomes not suppression but sublimation. Lift it to a higher level. That's what we discussed. Then what happens, we said that second phase of Sri Ramakrishna's life starts from now onwards. Ram Kumar went to Kolkata and he started a toll. A toll means a Sanskrit school. So what was he teaching? He was teaching, importantly, 3 subjects. First he was teaching astrology, then he was teaching Dharma Shastra. Priests, they have to teach. That means he was trying to train Brahmin boys so that they can perform priestly duties when they grow up. All the priests, that is what that particular subject is called Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastra means it contains 2 parts. The first part is, for a priest I am telling, how to perform all the sacraments. Hindu sacraments, 42 Hindu sacraments. A priest is one who helps a householder to perform Hindu sacraments. They are about 42. Few of them, Jata Karma, when a child is born, then Namakarana ceremony, then Prathama Mundana, shaving of the head first time, Annaprashana, then Upanayana, and then Vivaha, then Garbhadharana. So then ultimately the last one, it is called Antyeshti, that is Shraddha ceremony. These are most important ones, but in between there are what is called 42 are there. Who does all those things? The person who helps a householder perform all those things, that person is called a priest. This is one part of priest's life. Then sometimes some situations come where a person doesn't know what to do, what not to do. For such situations, ordinary householders are supposed to go and consult the priest. That is where the Dharma Shastra comes, if this is what happened. Now they have separated, courts and other things. Previously, usually Brahmins used to solve those problems. Very important incident happened when Sri Ramakrishna's brother took up the office, Sri Ramakrishna didn't accept it. He vigorously protested. He said, you can't do that. Even though he had so much of respect, reverence for his eldest brother Ram Kumar, you can't do that. You are deviating from our father's role model. Then that Ram Kumar, he said, no, I am doing everything correctly. Ramakrishna didn't accept. Then what is the way to solve this problem? Who is right? Ram Kumar right or Ramakrishna right? What did they do? Because when a dharma sankata cannot be solved by ordinary means, by books or whatever, then they have to, God only has to become a priest. So they have taken one pot, this story, that. Now what is the point here? Ram Kumar started to preach, first of all, to train future priests. Then he was also teaching Sanskrit, and usually Sanskrit is learnt by whom? Brahmin boys, usually. Unless a person has got special interest in learning Sanskrit, anybody who wants to become a Sanskrit scholar has to learn Sanskrit grammar. So by Sanskrit, teaching of Sanskrit is meant what? Sanskrit grammar. Firstly, Sanskrit grammar. Rama, I remember my first time, Rama, Ramo, Rama, Ramam, Ramo, Raman. By rote, there is no other way. And then he was teaching very important subject, astrology. Because in those days, who was the astrologer? Priest again, usually priest. And Ram Kumar was an extraordinary astrologer. And think we cited, I don't remember, that incident when Ram Kumar came to take bath in the Ganga, and he happened to see a rich man's wife, and then he said, alas, by tomorrow morning, this would be a corpse. That incident. He knew about it, and he knew about his own wife's death and his son's death. This is there. Ram Kumar never showed any affection to, he was very glad on one side because his wife did not conceive on one side, because he knew the moment she conceives, she is going to die. And secondly, even after that, what happened? After many, many years, in her late age, when Ram Kumar's wife conceived and gave birth to Akshay, and then as soon as she gave birth, she passed away. But he also knew that Akshay was not going to live for a long time. He died, and what we call under very tragic circumstances. He grew up, he came to Dakshineshwar, and then he took up the job of the priest, and then he was a young man, I don't remember, 20, 21 years old, and he got married. Within 6 months, he died. Within 6 months. No, that was he predicted just before his death, not earlier. But Ram Kumar knew this boy is not going to live for a long time. That's why he did not show much affection. That science which helps us to find out, predict the future events. What is it called? Astrology. Why did I bring up this subject? Because many people poo-poo that this is all nonsense. No, it's not nonsense. It is a valid science. The only problem is there must be some people who really take it up, who must be sincere and who must be pure. Because the predictions are possible only almost in an intuitive way. These things are just aids for bringing out his intuitive mind. Anybody who believes in religion, in God, if they don't believe in these things, we are not really believing in these things. Why? Because Ramakrishna also predicted. He predicted about Swamiji. This boy is not going to live, he will die at young age. So Ramakrishna predicted it long back. And he predicted a lot of things. Ramakrishna predicted about author's name. He said that just 6 months before he warned Atharsen to don't ride horses. And he did not tell him why he was warning him. And Athar, of course, he did not understand. And one day he fell from the horse and then developed some problem, and within few days he died. So Ramakrishna, he knew. But his knowing is not because he was an expert in astrology. That's an important point. He was doing it from an intuitive point of view. Interestingly, Sri Ramakrishna's own life, as soon as this brother was born, in those days families, they call astrologers and then cast a birth chart. And in that, 100% correctly, this boy will become a very great soul. He is born of Narayana's Amsha, part of Narayana. He will live his whole life in a temple, and he will die at the age of 50. He will become world famous. This was predicted. Astrology is a valid science. Ram Kumar started teaching these three things. First of all, Sanskrit for people, then this astrology and Dharma Shastra. That is mostly what training future priests would be priests. And remember, in those days, very few Brahmins dared to take up any other jobs, because that Brahminism was too high. That was what we are going to discuss now. The second phase of Sri Ramakrishna's life started. So Ram Kumar came to Kolkata and he started this stall, started teaching. But that there were not enough students. There were not enough audience. That means what? Income? Yeah, outcome was great, but income is very less. Here, outcome is huge. Income is nil. Then what happened? Occasionally Ram Kumar used to visit Kamarpur because still he was the head of the family. So he went to Kamarpur, and this time he found, previously at least Gadadhar used to go occasionally to the school. No, totally gone. He was fully engaged in what? In doing dramas, yatras and all those. So he thought this will not do. Consulting his younger brother and his mother, they decided that he should be taken to. The idea was that he will somehow, Ram Kumar, will induce him to go to school. He didn't learn the lesson that material cannot be bent. Once it takes its own shape. Who can bend Ramakrishna? Only God, nobody else. I doubt about God also. But he was fondly hoping in Kolkata he will have more time and he will be away from this friendship and drama. Then he will be confined. He will probably turn his attention to school. Then what happened? Ram Kumar was not able to earn enough at Kolkata. And he was also doing some priestly duties because he was a trained priest. Remember, Ram Kumar once went to another village and then he was coming very late, and then that was Kojagari Lakshmi Puja day, and he had Chandramani Devi had vision of Mother Lakshmi and all that. So he knew these priestly duties very well. So he took up immediately, like Raja Digambar Mitra's household near Jampur. As soon as Gadadhar came, and he said, now there is no drama or anything. You don't see any drama practice. You take up the priestly duties. There is a difference between at home, after his sacred thread ceremony, Gadadhar used to worship Raghuvir. But now for the first time, he has taken up what? Officially priestly job, which involved some income. Of course, the families used to pay that to Ram Kumar because Ramakrishna never cared. But then as soon as he started going and doing, all the families where he was doing, they discovered something unique in this boy. First of all, he was not behaving like an ordinary priest. He was doing wholeheartedly. Hours together he used to absorb. And they must have also absorbed. He was overcome with emotion. I think he used to sing beautiful songs. Tears used to come. All those things which were manifest in Ramakrishna at that time. They were manifest exactly here. And the families were so drawn, because one important point here is, because the puja was so devotional, so sincere, the families also used to be uplifted in his presence. Very soon they found out he was truthful, he was not at all concerned with worldly things, and hours together he used to do puja without counting the time, and he was very, very innocent. Above all, his nature was to love everybody. And they also started loving him. This point we discussed. He used to love all at Kamarpukur. Here also, repetition of same story, and even more. What's important for us to note it is, this is the first time he was officiating, doing priestly job. He was getting some remuneration for that, some money for that. But he was not caring. That is his elder brother's business. And this is a prelude, this is a foundation for what he was to do for so much time at Dakshineshwar temple garden. There is practically no break what he was doing at Kamarpukur, first time at Jampur, and later on continued for a long time at Dakshineshwar temple until he became unable to perform ordinary formal worship. This is the point we have to note down here. Now he was getting ready. Sri Ramakrishna's second phase of life. For a few months, Ram Kumar allowed Sri Ramakrishna. We are using the word Sri Ramakrishna. He was not at that time called Sri Ramakrishna. He was called Gadadhar. Long afterwards, after he came to Dakshineshwar, assumed the priestly duties, long afterwards, he became known as Ramakrishna. Until that time, Gadai, usually, Gadadhar, Gadai. Now, this priestly duties he was doing. One point I pointed out in my last class was, in Sri Ramakrishna's life, as well as in our lives, nothing happens as an accident. Everything is written. The only difference is, in our one of the first time classes, we discussed the differences between Sri Ramakrishna's human body and our body. How we are born and how Sri Ramakrishna is born. We are born because of our what? Prarabdha karma. And he was born because of what? Out of compassion. It was as a mission to establish dharma sthapana. But you can say in another way that he was born for our sake. If we have done sufficient sadhana, he has to be our guide, and for our sake only. But the point here to be noted that each one of our lives is not something that happens randomly, accidentally, unplanned way. No, everything is planned. How do we know? How do we know Just now we discussed an important point. What is it? Astrology. What is astrology? Predicting future. What is the meaning of predicting the future? What is the meaning of predicting the future? That means it is already decided and it will happen at a particular time. We are not aware of it. Supposedly these charts, astrological charts, are supposed to point out at this time you get married, at this time some disease will come, at this time you go to a foreign country, etc., etc., and at this time you die. All these things can be predicted in our life also, in their life also, because there is also Sri Ramakrishna's chart as at the age of 50 or so he would. Now, what is the importance of this? That Sri Ramakrishna's life is also fixed. Though he did not know at that time, neither Ram Kumar did, nor anyone else did. If we study Ramakrishna's life in that light, his coming to Kolkata, was it also part of that or not? But a very important change is about to take place in Sri Ramakrishna's life. What is that? The first phase is preparation. Second phase is totally submerging himself in sadhana, in the ocean of spiritual practice. But for that, an appropriate situation, background is necessary. And that background I will come today very soon. But the point is, Ram Kumar, one of his purposes is to keep Gadadhar under his supervision so that he can slowly bring him. So one day he lovingly chided him and said, "You are wasting your time, you are not paying any attention to studies, are you not going?" That is when Ramakrishna gives that famous reply, "I don't want to learn that knowledge, that education, which will allow me only to earn some money." In Bengali they call, bundling rice and plantains, etc., fruits and sweets and vegetables, etc. Rice, cloth, some fruits, sweets, some money. This is what priests used to get in those days. And even now they get the same thing in a different way. So this is not what I want. Ram Kumar was astonished because he never had this idea of this definition. Then what do you want? Okay, you don't want this kind of education. Then what type of education would you like to have? So immediately I want that education by which I can have the vision of God. This is a parallel with the Chandogya Upanishad and Mundaka Upanishad. We will come on a separate occasion. But today, what I want to take up, very soon he has to enter into the second phase of his life. That means he has to come to the Dakshineshwar temple. He has to assume the duties of a priest. That's what he had to do. But for that, the platform had to be done. The foundation has to be brought about. And that's going to happen. Very briefly, I am going to read about these astonishing facts that were there. But before that, what I wanted to say, it appears as though Sri Ramakrishna is being brought to Kolkata and he is doing priestly duties there, and his elder brother trying to persuade him to get education, etc. And Rani Rasmani's construction of the temple. These events do not seem to have any predictable correlationship. But subsequently, posthumously, when we look back, everything is absolutely arranged like that, dramatically, very dramatic Sri Ramakrishna's life. Now, before I go, what we want to do, this is the second part of Sri Ramakrishna's life. Swami Sharadananda wrote, the great master, Sri Ramakrishna Lila Prasanga in 5 parts. How did he write? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No. How did he write? 3, 4, 2, 1, 5. But later on, they rearranged these things. Later on. Now you get what is called chronologically. But first when he wrote, in Udbodhan, he used to write, Swami Sharadananda ji, in Udbodhan. So he took this up for 2 reasons. Why he undertook the writing of biography? Because before that, a few biographies of Sri Ramakrishna had already come out by some of Sri Ramakrishna's devotees, like Gurudas, Ramchandra Datta, etc. Now Sharadanji found out there is a lot of, first of all, discrepancies between each account of Sri Ramakrishna. Second, he found certain things they started exaggerating and neglecting certain things. That's why in this second part, actually it is third part. What we are going to study now is the third part, which we are renaming it as second part, Sadhaka and Sadhana. Now what he wanted to bring out, what is the real significance of Sri Ramakrishna's life, what actually had taken place, how do we understand spiritually. This is one reason why he wanted to write. But another reason was there. Another reason, he bought a house for Holy Mother and he took some money on loan, and one way of repaying the loan is by writing this book, so that by publishing it, by selling it, get rid of the debt. But anyway, God gets his own work done in so many ways. What is important for us, the second phase is starting. Ramakrishna did not know, Ramkumar did not know, and nobody knew anything. What was there? I will put it first in a dramatic way, and then I will come. A young man who was married twice, and twice he lost his wives. Rajchandra, his father was a Jamindar, and the father was urging for him, you get married for the third time. And he said, 2 marriages are more than enough, I don't want to marry. That was his personal resolve. But he did not know that God is going to make a patch there. So one day he went out for a boating, and the boat was anchored near a village ghat, and there were some young girls playing there, and he saw one of the girls, about 11 years old girl, and love at first sight. And then he exclaimed, if at all I have to marry, I will marry only this girl. Did he know why he was marrying that girl? He did not know, because this God has made all this patchwork, we call it patchwork, this jigsaw puzzle. His friends who knew about the background and who knew that he refused to marry third time, they were very happy. As soon as the boat returned, they went to his father and gleefully reported, your son has agreed to marry but this girl. Immediately, without losing time, the father sent his some people and contacted Rani Rasmani's father and then arranged the marriage. Marriage has taken place, and after a few years her husband dies, and we say, in some girl's foot there is a Lakshmi Mudra. As soon as they enter into the husband's home, then immediately wealth starts increasing, and then she became very, very rich. That's why later on she came to be known as Rani Rasmani. She was a worshipper of Rama, but she became a worshipper of Mother Kali, because the father-in-law's family was Shakta family. Sri Ramakrishna was from which family? Vaishnava family, Ramas, worshippers of Rama. And as soon as he came here, he became worshipper of the Divine Mother. But one thing you have to remember, Sri Ramakrishna's father, he was worshipping also Mother Shitala, who is another form of the Divine Mother. And he used to have visions, etc. So Sri Ramakrishna, so preparation for future Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he has not yet become Paramahamsa. What happened? Her husband died, and she conceived a desire that I want to go on a pilgrimage to Varanasi to have the darshan of Lord Vishwanath and Mother Annapurna. Then that night, before starting, she made preparation, 100 boats, and she was keeping about 100,000, 1 lakh of rupees for spending on this trip, the pilgrimage. But that night, the Divine Mother appeared, and then there are 2 versions. That the night before they have to start, Mother appeared and said, you don't need to go. She should have told this 6 months back. But they sleep throughout, When they wake up, probably that was the time, and she found out that this lady is going on a pilgrimage. So she immediately appeared and then said, you construct a temple for me. I will accept your worship from here. That was Rani Rasmani's experience. Another important point is, who believes dreams? Maybe I was thinking like that, maybe I had this dream, but she believed 100%. and she cancelled the trip. With that money, she started. The second version is she actually started. First day they came to the present Dakshineshwar site, stopped the boat for the night. That night she had the trip. Anyway, the substance is that she decided to construct the temple. And that is how the temple has come. We will discuss this, but I want to read something. Rani Rasmani was born on 24th or 28th September 1793 in Kona village near Kolkata into a poor farming family. Her father was Hare Krishna Das and they belonged to the Shudra caste. They say it is fisherman's caste or whatever. Rasmani received a basic education. When she was 11 years old, Raj Chandra Das of Jan Bazar, Kolkata, the son of a wealthy jamindar, and this boy, who was 21 years old at that time, accidentally saw her while passing the bathing ghats in his boat in the river Ganga near her village. Her beauty impressed him, and as his two earlier wives had died, though initially reluctant to marry, his parents were eager to get him married again, as was the custom of those days. Though she was much lower in the social ladder than him, the spirit of Renaissance in Bengal at that time and the wish to break away from the traditional marriage with the usual considerations of dowry and social status influenced him, and he decided to marry her. Rajchandra Das' father, Preetaram, supplied various commodities to the ruling English class and had developed a close relationship with them. He had bought several estates and had become a very rich man. After his death, Rajcharan inherited a lot of money and property, but he was very compassionate and human. What is important for us, both the father-in-law of Rani Rasmani and the husband of Rani Rasmani were very charitable people, philanthropic people. They did a lot of good. I'm only reading a few short incidents. Rani Rasmani supported him in all his philanthropic and social reform activities. Rajcharan Das, for example, established many social welfare institutions like bathing ghats. He established a library in Kolkata and also allocated land freely for the construction of a bridge. At the age of 49 years, her husband passed away and she took charge of the business. Very astute, very intelligent and very courageous, very devotional and very charitable. She had divine qualities, but she was not an ordinary human being. What was Sri Ramakrishna's opinion about Rani Rasmani? She was one of the Sakhis of the Divine Mother. And this is a very, very peculiar belief according to Hinduism. You know, when Holy Mother was a small girl, she used to go to bathe in the pond, and two girls used to accompany her. Nobody could see excepting herself. She said, for a long time I had that vision. Okay. Then you see, when she came to Kolkata, Dakshineshwar, two more companions had come. Who were they? Golapma and Joginma. And Sri Ramakrishna also used to say they were also the companions of Divine Mother, not ordinary people. And Sri Ramakrishna, of course, he himself was an incarnation of God. So all his, this Hriday Ram was part of him. And some of his disciples were Nitya Siddhas. And they were Ishvara Koti. They were his eternal companions. Whenever an incarnation comes, they used to come. Not only that, Shrima, Balram Basu, so many others. Sri Ramakrishna said, I saw all of them in the Chaitanya's party. That is very difficult for us to understand. What is the point here? Some of these people who had to play a very important role in Sri Ramakrishna's life, they were not ordinary human beings, but they were divine beings born along with him. This faith was there. When Rama was born, many of the people who had to help in his mission were also divine beings. When Sri Krishna was born, you know what he said? All the devatas, you have to be born. So, I'm just giving our scriptural authorities. All the Vanara Sainya, who are they? They were all devatas born to help Ramchandra, not ordinary human beings. Hanuman was not an ordinary human being, neither Sugriva, all of them. So also Sri Krishna's, all his companions, that is why he courted the curse of Gandhari so that they could be destroyed. Did I tell you that story? Because nobody could destroy Yadava's army. But he donated the whole Yadava army to Duryodhana. Know that story. And that means they fought against whom? Against Pandavas. Because Pandava army also had to be destroyed. And they could do it. Okay, the mission was accomplished. But afterwards, who is going to kill them? That's why cheerfully Sri Krishna went after the death. And Gandhari was red hot because all her 100 sons died. As soon as she saw Sri Krishna, she knew he could have stopped, and she cursed. Just as I lost, you will lose all your friends and relatives. And she bowed down and said, that's exactly what I wanted. Your curse now will finish the job. And it came in that way. And one day they made fun of a rishi, and then that through that rishi. But so these two incidents. Sri Ramakrishna also, a lot of people came. Rani Rasmani was one of them. Now you connect where we have gone and where we have come. It is important for us to understand, because everything should not be interpreted in a human way, as many of these historians are supposed to do. So you cannot study the life history of Sri Ramakrishna from a historical point of view. We have to have this background through which we can understand Sri Ramakrishna's life. At the age of 49 years, Rani Rasmani's husband passed away, and she became in charge of huge estates, etc. She took the help of one of her sons-in-law, Mathuranath Vishwas, also known as Madhur Babu, to assist her. She was highly intelligent and tactful in her dealings and diplomatically solved situations. And she was very brave and never lost her courage. And she also took up arms against injustice. In future we will discuss. This is a brief thing. So some people have composed a beautiful poem about her. When the Rani's horses and carriage roll down the street, they say, none, even the English company, dares to stand in her way. Rani Rasmani was greatly affected by the plight of widows and child marriages. She began publicly advocating practices like minimizing the age difference between the husband and wife, as she found most of the young girls were married to old men, and very soon they kick the buckets, and this child widow has no option but to suffer whole life. And many of them, one of them was Gopalayar Ma, another one was Jogin Ma, another one was Golap Ma. Yes. Then you see construction of the Dakshineshwar temple. She purchased 20 acres of land, and it took 8 years for completion. Finally, on the advice of some Pandits, according to these scriptures, she made a gift of it to her spiritual preceptor and set aside income for its maintenance. And Ramkumar was made the priest. His younger brother Gadadhar had the most profound spiritual influence by taking up the priesthood there. Last days of Rani Rasmani and death. The famous story of Ramakrishna slapping her during his talks to prevent her mind from wandering was the time when she realized that she needed to concentrate under his spiritual guidance. She immersed herself in the temple garden of Dakshineshwar, leaving all the business affairs to her son-in-law Mathur Babu. She died at the age of 68 years on February 19, 1861, leaving behind a rich legacy. The Rani began the construction of the temple in 1847, and it took 8 years at great expense to complete the Kali temple, which also contained a Vishnu temple and 12 Shiva temples. Rani Rasmani spent 50,000 rupees for the land, 160,000 rupees for the building, and 9 lakhs of rupees for the Kali temple complex, and 226,000 rupees for property used as an endowment for the maintenance of the temple. At that time, the temple was constructed in the name of Rani's Guru, and it was installed with the image of Mother Kali in the new temple with great pomp on Thursday, May 31st, 1855. Rasmani knew that her death was imminent, and there was one task which she left unfinished. The property which she had bought in Dinajpur, now Bangladesh, as an endowment for the maintenance of the Dakshineshwar temple was still not transferred to the temple trust. She executed the deed of endowment on February 18th, 1861 and died the next day. Next day after executing the deed. And you know the story? One of her eldest daughter, Padma, she did not put signature. And that led to a lot of court wrangles, which was resolved only somewhere in 1980s. 18 at that time, soon after her death, that means who is going to become manager of that property, because they use it to get lot of money. Whoever becomes manager, he would get lot of personal money. And that's why Madhur Babu, when his wife fell ill, you remember, he came running to Dakshineshwar. Baba, Sarvanash vachi. He came and fell at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. So, Baba, I cannot serve you. Oh, is it so? What is the problem? All right, your wife will be okay. But what happened? Her disease was transferred onto him. That's a very important point. Shortly before her passing away, she was brought to the bank of the Ganga. Seeing some lamps lighted in front of her, she exclaimed, "Remove all those lights. I don't care for this artificial illumination anymore. My mother has come, and the brilliance of her form has illumined the whole place." After a short pause, she passed away saying, "Mother, you have come." Now, here comes a beautiful point. Although the Rani was a far-sighted woman and had purchased a huge property of 226,000 rupees to assure the proper maintenance of the temple after her death, she could not foresee that in 1947, India would be partitioned. Her land was located in a zone that became now Bangladesh, and the government confiscated all her property. As soon as Bangladesh came, all the jamindari, which was meant for the temple, is completely confiscated by the government. From then on, the Dakshineshwar Kali temple had to be maintained without income from this property. But anyway, it's such an interesting subject. This is just the briefest summary of how this temple has come. But there are so many incidents that happened, which we will discuss in our future classes. But two important points: what is true education, and what is the role of temples and priests, etc. Because Sri Ramakrishna, first of all, refused to get normal, what we call academic education, and very soon he became the priest in the Dakshineshwar Kali temple and became totally immersed. His whole life had become upset, as it were, and thereby he proved something very, very important. What is it? The importance of temples for spiritual growth, the important role a priest must play in the life of Hinduism. These are the points we will discuss in our future classes. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhur Muhu.